we actually have a clip from a film where you play a 800-pound cannibal.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you very quickly about it. Yeah,
it?
this is a show that was on Fox a couple years ago called The Inside.
Okay.
Rachel Nichols, who went on to do some of Alias episodes and some other things, and Peter Coyote. They were part of a special FBI group that targeted only serial killers. I got cast, and I was in the 13th episode, the last one. They knew that the show wasn't going to be going any further, and they shot it. The problem is it got cut after 6 episodes. The series got pulled. So this episode has never aired in the United States. However, it aired somewhere in Europe. I have a copy of it, so I'd like to show it. I played an 800-pound cannibal.
Okay.
I had a 60-pound, exactly. I had a 60-pound silicone suit. The reason I agreed to do this one is it's very darkly comedic, and it was a terrific character. And I've got a wig and teeth, and you'll see everything. And basically, I lure. I forgot one piece. 800-pound cannibal with a predilection for anorexic women. So I go on these anorexic websites, pretend to be an anorexic woman, lure women in, and the lead of the show, Rachel Nichols, is in it, and she has pretended to be anorexic in order to gain entry into my home to capture me. Oh. And so you'll see from this,
she's on to you.
She's just awakened from the drugs I've given her, and that's what this scene is.
All right, well, everybody, check it out.
That's not what you told us before. You said, I want a friend who understands. I want someone who doesn't judge, who just wants to be near me. I want contact. I can give you that, Becky 93.
Where are the others?
I told you. They're here. They're all in me.
Not the ones you made up. 12 missing women, Ronald. Real ones. Christina Knoxon, Tracy Weinstein, Elena Martin.
Them. Well, guess you could say they're all in me too. We needed to be together. I understood it, even if they didn't. But they didn't know their house mattered. And they didn't work out. Hope you will.
Whoa. Okay.
When you see the entire episode, it's actually very darkly comedic. So that was the reason I agreed to do that one, because typically now I'm starting to steer away from the villain roles, but it was so much fun.
I bet.
It was
I didn't even recognize you underneath all of that. How long did it take you to get into that costume?
And it took about 4 or 5 hours, and then about an hour and a half to get off. And they had an air-conditioned tent for me because we shot in the summer. And if you start to perspire, the prosthetics separate from your face because they use the glue. And the hardest part is getting the prosthetics off, because they literally glue this foam to your cheek, and then to get it off, they have to dip a tiny little brush in oil, and they start to pull it off, and they have to dab at the edge because the foam starts to pull your skin. So they have to take it off little bit by bit. I mean, it's hell on the skin, but
talk about going through pain.
It was
for
a
your
lot
art.
of fun.
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun.
That sounds like a lot of fun. And the other thing is, there's a positive message through this, which is that Atkins obviously doesn't work because he was eating meat all day and he was still the 800-pound guy, right?
That's an excellent point. Need a balanced meal.
There you go. You can't just be humans.
Exactly.
So how did you go about getting ready for a role like this? I mean, some of the things that you've had to do, a dying scene is very hard.
Yeah.
You know, character like this is very challenging. I mean, you just use your imagination, or any other tips for the actors out there?
Well, every actor uses his own method. You know, I trained with the Meisner technique, which advocates, as 2 primary things. 1, play off your partner, and 2, use your imagination as opposed to events from your past. But like every actor, I use what works, and sometimes it changes from role to role. But as I said earlier, I use some of my imagination. In other words, you invent memories. I also use some things from my past and use substitutions. I'm reacting to her as if she were this other person. And then within the moment of the playing of the scene, that can color my preparation as well.
Well, it's very effective, all of these things. We have a lot more to talk about, but we have to run to a break, so stay tuned for more CU at USC right after this. Now, back to you.
I have a little dirty secret before we continue.
Please.
For your No, not that dirty. But your Trojan fans, your Trojan audience may or may not know I'm a graduate of Notre Dame. So I thought.
Yeah, I actually read. I wasn't going to bring it up.
You weren't going to bring it up, but I thought might as well put it on the table as long as we're here.
Honesty is the best policy.
Honesty is the best policy,
Okay.
and certainly I don't expect any animosity at that confession. After the last couple of years, I expect nothing but pity from your fans. So.
Especially after this season.
Exactly. This is a terrible
Sorry.
season.
So, all right. Well, on that note, I wanted to go back a little bit. In the first segment, we were talking a lot about your wonderful career, Lost, Mission Impossible,
Right.
some wonderful projects coming up. But you actually started off as an English major, and subsequently have done some writing and producing and things
Yes.
like that. So fill us in a bit. How did you decide to go into acting after you started in a different direction?
You know, every actor would have their own story about how they eventually became an actor. I was an English major, and I wanted to write and direct. And I started writing, and I still write. And right after graduating, I went directly into the industry, but I started as a production assistant, and then I moved into developing scripts and things. And then after about 3 years, I thought, you know what, I'm not sure I want to do this. I'm kind of sick of this. All my friends rented a van after graduation. They drove around the country. I didn't get a chance to do that. So I took a break, and I taught English for the Los Angeles School District in East LA for 3 years.
That's not an easy job.
No, and I enjoyed it, but it takes a very special person to be a teacher, and I wasn't necessarily cut out for it. So then I came back in to the industry doing research and various things, and then I went to New York and I took an acting class. And it was
out of the blue?
Oh, well, I had been told previously that many of the best directors are also good actors, because that's the one job the director has on a set. There's somebody else to do everything else but talk to the actors.
Right.
So I thought, I'm going to take an acting class, and it was so much more fun and so much more challenging in many ways than I ever expected, and I just fell in love with it. So I came back to LA and I went to acting school. So I started acting school much later than most actors do.
Right.
And I've been lucky enough to get hired ever since.
Now that's awesome. Now you also have a very well-known relative.
I do.
Your cousin is Tom Cruise.
It is.
Nice.
Yeah.
So did that influence your decision to go into acting at all? Or did he sort of plant the seed in your head?
No, actually, I was a fan of movies ever since I was a kid. And even back in high school, I've run into my old high school girlfriends, and they reminded me that I would drag them to movies and tell them to be quiet. And my mom and sisters said that whenever we watched movies at home, I was constantly telling them to shh or leave the room. And
you're one of those.
Yeah, and I was always reading
too.
film biographies, everything. So it's something I always wanted to do. I suppose having him in my family made it seem a more reasonable goal.
Right.
Because I was from Louisville, Kentucky, and my father was an attorney, and never really had anyone in my family who pursued entertainment. So that may have made it seem a little bit more reasonable, but I had the bug to work in the industry for a long time.